Hey, what's up, guys? So, you guys have probably picked up on the Frost Dragon Tyrant in some of your servers. It's not available like in my server yet, but one of the things that you can pick up on this is basically this is more or less like I don't know if how many of you have actually played Lords Mobile, but this sounds very eerily similar. So basically, you have a giant capital in the center of the map, just like you do in the Kingdom. And the main thing is that you're basically all going hand in hand, hand in hand for the base in the center, right? But as you do this, right, there's kind of a lot of different little rules here that kind of go into the fact. And the main thing is when you look at phase one, you sign up, so you can register for the event, and you'll be thrown into a given zone, and there'll be a number of different state heroes and stuff that'll be kicked into that zone. And then from there, the people that are eligible will basically get to join in. And obviously, if you jump out of your alliance, then you'll actually not be able to. So it's kind of interesting how this works. So you don't want to be jumping in between. But once the eve of battle kicks in, then basically you have to await the battle, and you'll get to place some predictions on who can win. So you might get some loot if you have. So it's kind of an interesting work up to it, right? And then the actual battle itself is phase 4, and this is where basically it becomes vulnerable after attack after an hour, and after 6 hours you get an occupancy reward if you've held control of it. Otherwise, for the most part, it's surrounded by 4 surrounding spires, which are vulnerable to attack, and half-hour periods that, vulnerability only occurs every 30 minutes. And then the alliances that hold the spire longest will then be rewarded a alliance-wide bonus. And from there, then you basically get to, have the little right to owning that capital, and that gives you the title of Frost Dragon Tyrant for that zone. And then you'll have those privileges and rewards for 30 days, which, as you might imagine, probably going to be somebody that is a gigantic whale in the game. And by phase 5, then you'll earn a armament bonus where you'll get healing speed and healing costs reduction, all that fun stuff. Of course, then you also get to host a grand feast, so it's going to be pretty similar to what we'd expect. But as far as the actual buildings go and everything, like the spires and everything, it can kind of give you an idea of what that all is going to look like. Obviously, certain spires are going to give you certain bonuses. Like, I imagine that Dragonbane Spire giving lethality and Blade Spire giving attack are going to be 2 that are going to be fought over, like Tooth and Nail, and Shield Spire probably not as much. But again, the eligibility is really going to be kind of limited to a certain number of zones top ranking alliances, so you're not going to have every alliance in, say, a certain zone be able to jump in. And the other thing too is, it's like the cities are going to be basically going in for battle, and you're hopefully going to, obviously you're going to be using your own troops when you go into this. The weird thing about it is, though, is you'll notice that the infirmary capacity will be considered unlimited. So you don't have like a cap on the amount, but you will have to pay healing cost and duration. So in a way, this sounds kind of similar to kind of like our Foundry battle events in a way, because you're not going to have like a whole lot of concern in terms of whether those troops will perish, because if newly severed, it's kind of interesting. So once a chief leaves the Frost Dragon battlefield with additional injured retained in the infirmary, newly severely injured troops in excess of the infirmary capacity will directly perish. That is to say that, unlike Foundry, there is a cost associated to it. That is to say, if you do run a bill up in the infirmary, there will be punishments should you decide to get, so I'd hate to be the guy that, like, towards the end of the event find themselves, get hit like really hard, because anything that dies after that, once you leave that battlefield, is then dead. So that's a thought, but something worth mentioning. The other thing, too, is any chiefs not part of the same alliance may be freely attacked once the battlefield is opened. Troops can be severely injured or killed in attacks against chief cities, whereas troops may only be severely injured in attacks on the capitals and spires. So, again, unlike Foundry, this is very much like, Castle Battle. So, that's a factor. Of course, you can only have one squad allowed per chief per capital or spire at a time. So again, very similar to Castle Battle. Cities burn a lot faster on the field. Of course, rally participants may freely employ rally speedups, and so there's that factor of it. Of course, you can attack other cities, but you're not going to get any other resources. You don't get any plunder from attacking them. So it's purely if you're just wanting to be a jerk, I guess. Unironically, any city that burns that falls into an enemy force will then be teleported over to a random location within the border region. So, obviously if you get burned near the map center, probably chances are you're going to get kicked out randomly. Interestingly enough, presidential titles, skills, pet, city, VIP, so on and so on, are all going to take effect on the battlefield. So that's pretty much Frost Dragon Tyrant, though. And so, given that information, I mean, the basic gist, I would liken this event to, basically a glorified version of Castle Battle, more or less. It's basically your state and a bunch of other states fighting for control. And unlike SVS, where, it's kind of slanted between one or two, this is going to be a whole lot more than that. It's not just one state per se. You're going to have multiple alliances involved, and so therefore it's going to be a little bit more of a mismatch of different alliances colliding for the same freaking thing. So it's going to be a little bit more crazy, but in terms of whether or not that's going to be your thing or not, I don't know. I mean, obviously my alliance won't be joining in on it probably, but I don't know, maybe one day. But if anything, guys, the main thing I'd like to get at you is I will be paying attention to it, and we'll kind of watch and see how it pans out. So I'm sure once the event really kind of rolls, we'll be able to really clearly see how it plays out. But just thought I'd go ahead and give you some information on this, and I appreciate JP from the Discord for giving us those screenshots, because he is what made that possible today. But needless to say, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.